Welcome back to Turkish series Stars, the space where we look past the flashing headlines and listen for the soft, complicated truths hiding underneath. Tap like, hit subscribe if you haven't yet, and if you want to support this community even more, click join. Tonight's tale unfolds after midnight, in a hushed corner of Istanbul, where a meeting no one expected ended up stirring feelings that tabloids were too loud to hear. Trusted insiders are whispering that actor Ozan Baba arranged a private, late-night reunion with Sinem, the kind of meeting planned with care, observed with tenderness, and sealed with silence. Those close to Ozan insist this wasn't an attempt to spark publicity or revive a project. They say the impulse came from a place so personal that even friends hesitated to ask questions. It began with a wish he'd been carrying like a stone he couldn't put down, a wish that belonged to his late mother and had lived on in a corner of his heart he kept guarded for years. People who've seen Ozan in unguarded moments speak of a line his mother shared with him during a particularly bruising period of his life. "Listen to your inner voice," she told him. "Don't let fear choose for you." For a long time, those words were a comfort he kept folded and tucked away, something he whispered to himself between call times and sleepless nights. But after she passed, quietly, profoundly, her guidance began to feel less like a memory and more like a command. It wasn't advice anymore. It was direction. And that direction pointed him to Sinem. Sources say the message he sent her was simple, careful, almost formal. He didn't bury it in explanations, he didn't dress it up with nostalgia. He asked for a conversation. He asked for clarity. He asked, perhaps most of all, for space, shared space, to acknowledge the things neither of them had found the words for when life was speeding too fast to allow either to breathe. Some thought she wouldn't respond. Some, frankly, hoped she wouldn't. But she did. She said yes. And a quiet cafe in a tucked-away neighborhood became the setting for a night that would send ripples far beyond its dim windows. The location wasn't a coincidence. It's a place known to regulars for ambiguity rather than atmosphere. Lamps with amber light. Cups placed softly on wood so the sound barely travels. Staff who have learned not to acknowledge familiar faces. Before the meeting, the team was given explicit instructions: no phones, no notes. If you recognize either guest, you don't. If you want to remember what you see, don't. They arrived at different times, slipped in through different doors, and were guided into a back room that typically hosts travelers who need solitude more than coffee. For almost 2 hours, that room was theirs. What happened inside wasn't a performance. Employees, speaking in vague terms later, described a mood that shifted between awkward and warm, between heavy and unexpectedly light. There were pauses dense enough to sit in, the kind that make you notice the clock ticking and your own breath. But then, out of nowhere, a laugh would surface, small at first, then real, the sound people make when hard truths finally stop circling and find a place to land. At the start, Sinem sat with a practiced composure, shoulders straight, expression guarded. It didn't last. As Ozan began to talk about his mother. The memories he'd locked away, the pain he didn't want to turn into performance, the choice he felt he owed to the woman who raised him, the posture softened. The conversation opened. They weren't there to relitigate every misunderstanding. They were there to give honesty a chance to breathe. Misread intentions, misheard words, and the ruthless pace of their work had once taken little cracks and turned them into gulfs. Fame can turn a glance into a headline and a delay into a rumor. It had done that to them before. Decisions made quickly, defensively, without time to truly sit with them, now returned with a clarity neither of them had allowed themselves. The point wasn't to fix everything in a single sitting, it was to stop pretending there was nothing left to say. Close observers say Sinem asked the kind of questions she is known for off-camera, precise, fair, and unflinching. Ozan didn't dodge them. He answered with a calm that surprised people who know how private he can be. The sharpest corners of the conversation slowly rounded into something gentler. Not a grand reconciliation, not a dramatic undoing of years, but a recognition, a sense that they finally saw the same outline of the past, and for once weren't arguing about the shape of it. They left the way they came, separately, swallowed by the night as if agreeing without words that spectacle had no place in whatever this was. The staff kept the promise they had given. No photos. No whispers that could be traced. Only the aftertaste of an evening that felt significant even to those who were determined not to interpret it. Of course, secrets involving two well-known names refused to remain secret for long. By morning, timelines were buzzing, comments piling up under vague posts and suggestive captions. Some saw fate easing open a door that had been stuck, insisting the timing was too poetic to ignore. A son honoring his mother by refusing to leave certain chapters unfinished. Others brushed it off as nothing more than professional courtesy, a polite check-in after a long stretch of distance. The absence of official words from either camp only fanned the fire. We stopped getting answers and started getting theories. And this is where you, the audience, become part of it. What do you think this was? An opening to something new, or the last gentle closing of a long unfinished page? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you appreciate these deeper dives, make sure you subscribe and press join to support Turkish series stars. As the day moved forward, more fragments drifted into the light. That cafe, people noted, is famous for its melancholy glow and unapologetic quiet, the type of place where confessions don't echo. A source claims there was a moment when Sinem's eyes glistened. Not in despair, but under the weight of listening to Ozan describe how his mother's words had followed him into this meeting. They revisited the early days when they were just colleagues trying to be friends in a world that peels back layers you'd rather keep intact. They laughed at the wild stories strangers had invented about them over the years, myths that somehow never died even after new projects and new seasons. They admitted how difficult it is to hold on to private life when intimate gestures become public property. By the time they stood up to leave, something in the room had changed. The tension that walked in with them dissolved into a gentler tone. No one claims there were promises or decisions laid out like a plan. But witnesses who trust their instincts say the phrase next time appeared, soft and unforced, while they were saying goodbye. It wasn't a declaration. It was a possibility. A small word slipped into the farewell like a note tucked into a pocket to be found later. Fans did what fans do, they selected sides and built narratives. Those who have always wished for the two to find their way back to each other seized on that small detail, waving it like proof that something beautiful hadn't been entirely lost. Others argued that what we watched from afar was a different kind of grace, closure rather than romance, a line drawn with kindness. Neither camp could point to a press release or a posted statement for confirmation. Silence filled the space where clarity should go, and in that quiet, speculation multiplied. What gives this night its power isn't the celebrity sheen. It's the human thread pulling everything together, a son hearing his mother's voice not as memory but as direction, and choosing courage over avoidance. That courage wasn't grand or cinematic. It looked like a text sent with care. It sounded like hard truths spoken in a room with soft light. It felt like the relief that arrives when you realize it's not too late to be honest. For now, the truth sits somewhere in the space between what was confessed and what remains carefully unspoken. But one thing feels certain, this meeting won't be forgotten soon. The curtain may have fallen gently on that night, yet the audience hasn't moved, still waiting, still listening for an encore no one promised. And if you've been with us for this whole journey, thank you. You're the reason Turkish series stars keep searching for the story beneath the story. If you want more pieces like this, don't forget to subscribe, hit like, add your thoughts below, and tap join to support the channel. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep listening for the truth that whispers when the noise runs out.